edition of Around the World in 60 Seconds takes us to Atlantic Canada, where Hurricane Gonzalo recently made news. The storm stirred up huge swells off the coast of Nova Scotia. Those are big waves, even by Atlantic standards. In Newfoundland, it all started with the arrival of ominous clouds. The powerful storm also brought strong winds to the east coast with gusts of 108 kilometers per hour. That's when it was best to heed warnings about staying away from the water, with massive waves pounding the shore of the Avalon Peninsula. Then came the rain, and while it wasn't overwhelming in Newfoundland, there was certainly enough to cause some localized flooding in St. John's. There was no shortage of fast-flowing rivers and streams either. Luckily, Gonzalo veered farther east than originally predicted, making this weather story one with a happy ending. If you'd like to see your videos on Around the World, upload them to theweathernetwork.com.
And we would love to see your videos, for sure. Kasia Badurko with you here. I'm in for Jacqueline Whittall this Friday afternoon. A lot of things we're working on. We're going to be recapping what happened on both sides of the country in terms of the active weather, and still more to come. Snowtober, that's what this is. Yeah, we've got the flurries on the way, and then we've got your Halloween sneak peek. What's to come for your Friday? All right, next Friday, I should say. All right, Vancouver swamped out roads because of, well, over 100 millimeters of rain in some places. And it was all about the winds as well. At one point, 80,000 customers knocked off the grid. And if you do the math, that's about 3 people per household usually. Close to 200,000 people without power. More than that. All right. Meanwhile, have a look at these rainfall amounts. Okay, Squamish, 117 millimeters of rain. Port Alberni, 140. And then Victoria, Vancouver, lesser amounts, but still swamped out roads. You saw it. To the other side of the country, where it was a nor'easter coupled with another system. Thursday, this was the scene. Also localized flooding, certainly an issue there. And basically what happened, in just 2 days, a month's worth of rain fell. So Yarmouth, have a look, 109 millimeters of rain fell. And of course, we've been covering this story diligently, but look at this, just 5 mils in Charlottetown. So it just shows how localized it was. To Dawson Creek now, where this is scary with Halloween approaching. Yeah, the snow is flying. We already have a fair amount on the ground. Kelly, thanks for the video. It's nice to see people's backyards. Not nice to see all that snow already. A fair amount to the north, of course, through the higher elevations as well. 1 to 5 centimeters of snow already in some places, and more to come. We're talking 5 to 15 millimeters of rain through the Whistler region, the higher elevations, the foothills as well, the Rockies. 5 to 15 locally heavier amounts, but then surrounding that, of course, it's all about the snow or the lesser amounts of snow. Now, before the sun comes up on Sunday for you in Alberta, now we're talking about you in Alberta, a rain-snow mix. That's what this pink color signifies here. Everybody else looking at snow, and then on the other side of the Rockies, a rain story. More on this coming up.
This weather segment has been brought to you by the Islands of the Bahamas. Force of Nature is brought to you by Garant Scratch-Free Snow Brush.
Now here's something most of us don't see very often, or at least pay attention to. Clouds moving in the opposite direction. It's a great illustration of 2 layers of the atmosphere, each with its own wind direction. Here at home, blustery fall weather in the Maritimes continued this morning after going through the night and most of yesterday. A slow-moving nor'easter is the reason. Chris Murphy and Rachel Schutzen are in Halifax covering the storm. We'll check in with them later in the hour. Before the Maritimes, the nor'easter tore through New England. It dropped 150 millimeters of rain in and around Boston. And the wind, well, it knocked over trees and cut power to more than 70,000 customers. Prolonged rain from a Pacific low dropped enough rain to swamp the streets of Vancouver yesterday. And the Pacific parade of storms continues. We'll tell you when the next one is moving in later in the hour. The cause of this damage? An EF1 tornado, a relatively rare event in Washington. This one touched down south of Seattle yesterday afternoon, cutting a 2-kilometer-long path. Northern Lights viewing has been good this week. This was shot Tuesday night when it was at its peak. And while this round is past its prime viewing, it's still expected to be good tonight and tomorrow, weather permitting.
One of the most costly natural disasters right here in Canada is flash flooding in terms of property damage. And the reason it's so serious is because it can occur in any region, in the countryside or the city, and virtually at any time of the year. But it really really depends on how much rainfall you've had lately in your neighborhood. That determines the saturation of the top layer on the ground. Again, flash flooding, so serious because it can happen just like that. Here's what we mean. The heavy rain caused by thunderstorms or warm, moist air rising rapidly into our atmosphere can produce flash floods. We're talking about 30 to 40 millimeters of rain in a very short period of time. Look what happens. That amount of rain could equal to 1 meter of water depending on the topography in your neighborhood. So here are a couple of tips to keep you safe. Firstly, stay away from creeks as water levels could rise very quickly. And when you're driving, pay attention to the barricades. You never know how deep that water actually is.
Hi, I'm Chris May. This is the edition we like to call the Long Ranger. We're going to take a look past the Long Range and go even further than that. Who's ready for Halloween? I'm ready for Halloween. Are you ready for Halloween? I know I am. I love that. It's the whole decorating thing and, you know, taking my son around and stuff. It's a lot of fun. So starting early next week, we are going to see, and this is not going to be a cold down, it will be a cool down. Temperatures will be just a tiny bit, maybe 2 or 3 degrees below seasonal across the board. Lows are coming across, are now going to start dropping in some cooler air, but the Arctic air stays bottled to the north. Meanwhile, where'd the warmth go? The warmth is going to continue to move east. Will it last for Halloween? That's what we're going to get to in just a quick second. As this system of lows, and it becomes not necessarily zonal, but getting close to what you could confuse for zonal, moves from west to east, that is going to draw in more and more cool air, and with high pressure setting over top the high pressure, it's going to keep all the Arctic air to the north. We are going to see snow. Snow is going to start creeping into the forecast in Calgary's and Edmonton's. We have Mondays through Tuesdays. That's the remnants of what was Hurricane Ana has remained tropical storm status across the Pacific, and will just be a low that will come with wind and rain for the BC coast. Meanwhile, on into Tuesday, we have another low that's going to be sliding across the lower Great Lakes. But out ahead of that cold front, boom, up go the temperatures again. And this is that warm-up I was telling you about, 18. Behind the cold front, only 3. That's the disparity between whether or not you're on the leeward side or the windward side of that cold front. Also, look what else is happening across the rest of the prairies. 6 degrees in Winnipeg, 6 in Regina. You're still holding on to the teens, and now you're up into the mid-teens in the Maritimes. 16 in Halifax by the time we get to midweek. Now, we do have, as each successive push continues into BC's coast, and it will trapped in this area of instability in its upper level low, milder temperature is now going to start pushing across the prairies. But by late week, now we're getting closer to Halloween, now we're getting closer to November 1st, cooler air, but with milder air on the horizon.
Countdown of the top 5 reasons why we can't be beat in Canada. Be proud. Number 5. Canada has the world's longest coastline, over 243,000 kilometers long. Number 4, we have more lakes than any other country on Earth. 32,000 lakes, over 3 square kilometers in size. Number 3, in Canada, we have the world's highest tides. They occur on the Bay of Fundy. Number 2, Canada has the world's longest highway, the Trans-Canada. It's over 7,600 kilometers long. And number 1, why we can't be beat, Alert Nunavut is the northernmost, most populated city or community on planet Earth. Get more top 5 videos on our website, theweathernetwork.com.
Lots to celebrate here in Canada. Suzanne and Kasha with you on a Friday. Canadians love Halloween.
Including us.
Yes, exactly. You're starting us off with a few photos. This one's downright scary.
It sure is, yeah. Are we going to be seeing rain, snow? Who knows, right? Well, of course, we have that answer coming up. Across the country, some people are expecting a lot of active weather for their Halloween. Moving along, beautiful weather. Already the homes are decked out. Suzanne?
Sunshine, that's what we want. We're tweeting some of these photos on our website. We're encouraging you to share your photos. Will it be a wet forecast? It certainly has been for many lately, Kasha.
Yeah, for some of us. In fact, we're going to get to the Vancouver details in just one moment. But first, across the country, taking a peek. Of course, it is unsettled across the west, unfortunately, on your Halloween. And also on the east.
Yeah, we have this pinpointed for a week from now, but it kind of mirrors the pattern that we're in right now. In fact, if we bring up the icon forecast, you can see temperatures I'm noticing right away, Kasia, they're not extremely off the norms. These are evening temperatures, but there's a pretty good chance, say for Vancouver, with a high probability of precipitation at times. As we get to next Friday, good chance it's going to be wet.
That's right. Calgary, well, a lesser amount of probability. We're looking at a 30% chance of precipitation. Good chance you're not going to be seeing anything. A mix of sun and clouds and temperatures around 10. That's your daytime high, though. A little bit chillier towards the evening hours.
That's Toronto, and that's Halifax. We end things off. And again, the trend is for drier, a little cooler, but keep checking back with us.
The nose do the breathing. Force of Nature is brought to you by Garant Scratch-Free Snow Brush.
We thought we'd wow you with this shot from Taiwan. You notice anything different about it? A wonderful illustration of 2 layers of the atmosphere, each with their own wind direction. Pretty cool. Back here at home, a slow-moving nor'easter brought rain and wind to the Maritimes yesterday evening and through the night and into this morning. Chris Murphy and Rachel Schutzen are in Halifax covering the storm. We'll catch up with them a little later on today. Before the nor'easter started battering the Maritimes, it tore through New England. This is what it did in and around Boston Wednesday into Thursday. Most impressive rain totals, 150 millimeters. Power was cut to 70,000 customers at the height of the storm. Wet weather isn't confined to the East Coast. The latest Pacific storm swamped the streets of Vancouver yesterday, and there's more rain on the way. We'll tell you all about that later in the hour. The cause of this damage, an EF1 tornado, a relatively rare event in Washington. This one touched down south of Seattle yesterday afternoon, cutting a 2-kilometer long path. Aurora borealis as it looked over Norway on Tuesday. This is when viewing was at its peak, but it hasn't diminished completely. Still good viewing tonight, weather permitting, of course. This has been Force of Nature Extended. Super special edition of the Friday May Day with Chris May and Andrea Bagley, as we were every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I say were because it was past tense for the next year, going away, leaving us for a year.
It's the last one, but only for a year, temporary. I will be back, a new chapter in my life, but I will miss you guys dearly.
Best chapter you've ever had in your life.
Hopefully.
Best chapter ever in your life.
Fingers crossed.
We have the morning briefing for the last time for a year. We have the one storm in, the other storm out. We're still talking about the storm that's out, that's in Halifax, and some fun stuff with Chris and Rachel.
For sure. So our team coverage did continue this week as the nor'easter pushed into the east. But, you know, Chris and Rachel making a little light of it this morning and had some fun because they said, you know, it's been such a cold week. So now they're offering you guys, the viewers, some Weather Network mittens. You have to go down to see them. So the video's online talking about what the contest is all about. We posted on our Twitter and Facebook feed as well. So you can find out what they're asking and how you can win some Weather Network mittens.
Yeah, last time I looked for Weather Network mittens, the swag department said we were out. Apparently they're in Halifax.
There they are.
On the Pacific, we're talking not only about the heavy rain, but the heavy rain still to come and the potential for landslides. Scott Sutherland filed that story.
That's right. So, you know, a lot of rain has already fallen in BC, over 100 millimeters in some places. You know, the parade of storms continues over this weekend as well. So we asked Scott yesterday, you know, there is that landslide potential. What causes that and why do these things happen? So, as he always does in his true science fashion and meteorology fashion, yeah, he digs deep into that and provides a great article online explaining the science behind landslides.
So we're going to go from science back to fun again. Well, science can be fun. Right. We all have our favorite animal superheroes. One of mine growing up was Underdog. Loved that. Super Grover.
Another great one.
Big fan. I found a brand new one now. This is the porcupine, the pumpkin-eating porcupine. I love this.
It is. This is Teddy Bear, the porcupine. And so this is a video, a YouTube video that's got thousands of hits. And he actually has his own Facebook page as well with 20,000 fans.
He's jealous.
Where he's eating the pumpkins. You know, this was a video that was shot last year, but it's kind of resurfaced and made its way back because of the time of year. I think people are excited. Check it out online. It's hilarious. He's so cute.
And because, for people that want to know why, this is our farewell to Andrea going on maternity leave for the next year.
That's right.
Can't keep calm because we will miss you. Everybody here will miss you.
And I will miss you all so much too. This is it's a tough one, bittersweet, but starting an amazing chapter of my life for sure.
It's going to be amazing when you come back.
Thank
all right,
you.
stay with us.